Yo, what is going on, everybody? This your boy Sean, aka Puff Comics 83, and we are back with another talking movie episode on a Friday afternoon. And I'm joined by my favorite co-host, Varangian Vigilante. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, fantastic Friday. Actually, it was a very nice weekend to work. Everything went very smooth. Projects were finished, so it was not over busy. So had time to watch a lot of movies, read comics, play video games, and looking forward to today where we talk the Warriors. Yeah, I watched also the Warriors twice this week. Hey, Gary
B,
you're
man,
back.
what's going on? Thanks for joining us. Yes.
And I really liked the new remaster. Really beautiful. I'm very happy it was the original cinema cut, since I'm not a big fan of the director's cut.
I watched both editions, and while I agree with you on the cinematic cut, there's some good things in the director's cut that I like, but the comic book feel to it kind of like it just extends it for no reason. But the Warriors, this film is so near and dear to me. You know, being that I grew up right there in New York City, in Brooklyn, and the theme of this film is to escape the Bronx. It's like we gotta escape from the Bronx, like the movies we talked last year.
I mean, they were inspired by the Warriors, naturally, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like we gotta escape from the Bronx and get back home because we're being hunted not only by gangs but by the police.
But the biggest gang in New York.
Exactly, they're the biggest gang in New York. So it just near and dear to my heart with all the different variety of gangs that they had in the film. The story of how the Warriors could overcome this and get home. And then just the background of the subway trains, because I love New York subway system. Yeah, it's trashy. It has its place, but
which subway? Show me a subway that is not trashy.
But yeah, this movie was big growing up watching, and it's one of my favorite films. So go ahead and talk about what the Warriors meant to you.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like I said, subways, trash area. Like in Vienna, the moment you enter the subway, it's like urine. It's Vienna.
Yeah, I know the smell, the rats, all that. Discussing but for 18 years I had to deal with that. 19 years I deal with that, and I became accustomed to it.
That's the truth. That's a true diversity. Like in the subway of the world, piss always smells the same. Like, for me, the Warriors. Naturally, it means a lot since I'm a historian, and it's also based on the book by Sol Yurik, which is based on the Anabasis by Xenophon, which was a Greek historian, and his tales from the Greek mercenary army that went to Persia to try to help Kairos to get the throne, but then Kairos dies. And the Greek leaders executed in the peace talks, and the Greek soldiers have to go home from Persia all the way home back to Greece, the March of the 10,000. And I absolutely love how Walter Hill managed to translate this journey, like from Asia to Europe, in a way that is within New York, where every subway station feels like a little region in between with their own army. That every gang is like their own army. It's done it so masterfully. Like it's the movie so well paced, and you almost forget watching this movie that is actually you're watching criminals.
And even before the subway comes into play, they have to go through territories.
Yes,
and that's even worse because you don't know what territory you're walking into and what type of people you're dealing with. And that's the beauty of the Warriors, is that these various gangs that can pop up, and you're in their territory, and you got to be careful on how you handle the situation. And one of my favorite scenes was when they encountered the Lizzies, because the Lizzies can just show up and be nice and stuff like that, and to draw you in, and they're women, so they're the most deceiving gang of all time. They are completely deceiving.
This almost this moment felt like the Odyssey, when the sirens were luring like the warriors that were astray in.
Yeah, and the movie still holds up, Gary B. Like when you watch it, it still keeps you entertained throughout the whole film.
Yeah, Gary is so old. Like probably when the movie came out, he was in a gang.
Which one? The baseball players? The orphans? But I like how the movie starts out with being the meeting all the way in the Bronx.
So perfectly set up.
And I like how the Warriors is like, man, why we got to go all the way to the Bronx? Like so far from home. So you're already setting the seeds of doubt of having to travel so far from your turf to an unknown region in the city that you don't know what you can encounter.
Yeah. And within the dialogue in the beginning of the movie, every character trait was already established.
Yes.
So we already knew, of course, this is this guy, like this guy's these traits.
And you already knew that Ajax was a jerk just by hearing this talk.
Yeah, it's like that.
and he was not hesitant slinging around the F word, and I ain't talking about fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely get the character traits in that intro, and what a fantastic intro. Like, you can't get no better than the mixing of all the gangs getting together, the warriors talking, and the subways just going back and forth. And that intro always, like, fascinates me with how I watch it.
Yes, that intro is... I think this is also one of the top 5 introductions in movie history, because everything you need to know is established in the beginning without having the need to make like a half an hour, like, okay, this gang. No, it's done perfectly, and this is also why this movie still has this awesome runtime. I think 95 minutes, so it's just perfect, and there's nothing missing. You watch this movie and you know everything. You're not. That's why I'm a little bit. I have a bit of a negative opinion about the comic book sequel, which is not a bad sequel at all. I think it actually makes a lot of sense because it's about breaking Ajax out of jail. But I just think that The Warriors is this perfect one-shot, this perfect one-and-a-done movie that doesn't need a sequel, because you basically know what life is gonna be afterwards. It's like the same grind for this for the youth in New York.
Exactly. And the concept of breaking Ajax out of jail is interesting, but when you really think about it, Ajax set himself up for that. Like, I felt bad more for the loss of Fox, than Ajax. Like, Fox was actually getting down with the cops, and his death was like, damn.
He died a true warrior's death, so.
At the same time, that's not a death that you want.
Yeah.
What's up, Two Gun Pedro?
Hey, Two Gun Pedro. That's the strange thing. I mean, I have not read the novel, but what I got from the synopsis is that Joel Zurich wrote his novel because he didn't like the positive portrayal of gangs like in West Side Story. So it's actually like a big criticism about the gang culture, which in the movie you can see it's there, but it also glorifies the brownness and the honor of the warriors. So you get a little bit of both sides in there, which of course I think later what you can see with Walter Hill's, with my favorite Walter Hill movie, Streets of Fire, where it's like truly like a heroic movie.
Yeah, it did definitely some comparisons and some differences, from the novel and then to Walter Hill Streets of Fire. But the one thing that I really do like about the Warriors is how, even if all the gangs are criminals and stuff, they all have their own identity,
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like the colorfulness of the gangs, whether they're, like punks, because the little gang called Punks is one of them, the leader riding in roller skates. then you had the gang all on the school bus. That scene right there, like, damn, man, I would not want to encounter that gang at all.
I think the Turnpool, the Bulls, yeah, absolutely. This is like what I love about the Walter Hill portrayal. You have this sort of you can almost already feel a little bit of the fairy tale vibe, like, or the fantasy vibe, the fantastic, that every gang has like their own gimmick. Basically, it's like it almost feels like
I mean, you had a gang of mimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, who does that shit?
And they also took them over to Escape from the Bronx, of course, an Italian movie.
But yeah, that's the thing, like the uniqueness of the gangs, and that, if there was a criticism, and it's not even like a major criticism, but it's like there's a lot left on the floor when it comes to exploring different territories and gangs that you could have seen a little bit more, because they showed so many gangs at that meeting and in the introduction that, damn, I want to see some other gangs. You know, it's like just run through each territory and see what they encounter.
That would actually have been a really cool video game, like to take over territories and shit. But yeah, you know, that's what I love about the movie. Also, is that it gives you stuff where you would be like, okay, I would love to know about that, but the movie gives you enough that you're satisfied.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that.
And I also think that everything was so colorful, because back in the time when this came out, like, gangs were still a big thing, and of course, not in the best portrayal naturally, because there were like gang violence. I mean, it's still a thing nowadays, but it was huge back in the day. On the one hand, of course, you have to understand the youth that you basically have to join again if you want to have some sort of security, like on your own little turf, as they would call it. But on the other hand, of course, it's like, it's not the best for a stable future life.
And let's talk about the meeting and Cyrus. Leader of the Gramanskis. He called that meeting as a way to collectivize all the gangs in the city to try and take over and overwhelm the police and say, we can rule this city. And it had me thinking about when we talked to the spook who sat by the door, and how his vision was to get all the young black youths who were in gangs and stuff, get together and take over the city for the power of the land. Now, it's completely different motivations, but it's similar into how the concept of trying to get the young black gangs together to be a team, to put their differences aside and say, if we get together, we are the most dangerous threat in this city.
I mean,
and they can't handle it.
I mean, that strategy is as old as exchanging food for sex. Like, it also, of course, goes also back to the Stone Age, where like, we are more, we can actually rule, and it's like basically an easy thing to think about. Of course, like when you have more manpower, then you can establish yourself as the new order. Which I love the speech, because it was so well rounded, it was so well articulated, and it really makes sense, because of course established, like, that's how every country originally established like their own territory by, hey, we get this land, we can defend it, but then of course, in order to keep the land, you have to please the people that actually live on the land, otherwise you get a revolt. And this is basically like it was like a revolution. This is always so interesting. I think that even the term for it is biker paradox, which fits for every gang, because when you ask these people, they all see themselves as, they feel free, etc. But once you're in a gang, you're actually in one of the most, you have like the most rule, you have more rules than anybody else. And this is the paradox. Like you feel free, but you have more rules.
But one thing about these games is that there's always going to be one that messes up, that either don't agree with it and has a disagreement with the leader, or that, in this case of Luthor, just wanted to shoot somebody just for fun because he's crazy.
Typical Sully move.
Like, Sully is a complete scumbag.
Yeah, of course, fantastically portrayed by David Patrick Kelly. You know, it's so sad we don't see him anymore because he was fantastic in Commando, he was fantastic in The Crow, and of course, this is where his cred for such movies started in The Warriors, as Luthor is the
He was a scumbag in The Longest Yard. You know that snitch.
Yeah. But yeah, it also shows way more systems would collapse today if there wouldn't be people like Luthor, like in everywhere around the world.
So after Cyrus is giving his great speech and ends it off with "Can you dig it?" Luthor shoots him. Pandemonium starts, and then he noticed that the warriors saw him. One of the warriors, Fox, saw him, with the gun, and then he started blaming the warriors. Now, one of the aspects that is forgotten is the first leader of the warriors before Swan took over.
Clean, yeah.
And I'm like, man, he got the raw end of the deal in this film, because it's like you get his introduction, and then you see him concerned about Cyrus, and then he gets taken out, due to Luthor blaming the warriors. And I'm like, man, that's one character that kind of got taken out quickly, but you kind of wanted to see a little more of how he was as a leader. But it's for the plot sake that they had to do that.
Because after that, the warriors were leaderless and they had to establish order. And that way they were more lost on the way home. And like in the beginning, they didn't know yet that they were blamed. They just, ran away after they were shot because the police was coming all over the place. And so they just thought they have to go home and only... Yeah,
they thought like the truce was broken after that whole incident, so that the gangs were just going around looking to beat them up.
But they were also mostly concerned about the police.
And that number one gang in the city.
Yeah, and you can't tell me you're not a gang when you give Sonny Lantern a badge.
Oh. and when you give him a badge, he has that stern look like, I'm gonna take out all these. I would have loved it if he was a bit more in there, just as that menacing police that they can't get away from, so they have to be creative.
Yeah, but it's also like, when you're down there in the subway and suddenly one call comes on, it's fucking Sonny Lantern. It's like, fuck.
And of course, this is started the Lanham and Walter Hill relationship, with him being in 48 Hours and stuff. But I really liked that sequence of the whole pandemonium and the police invading, when they was creeping up while Cyrus was giving his speech. And the warriors like, man, what the fuck is going on? We're hunted by the police. The truce is broken, so now we have to try and find our way back home. And the whole thing with get to the train. Then when they get underneath the platform, they stand there and look. And at first you're like, man, what the fuck are you waiting for? But then you like, yeah, you better watch your surroundings, because that you don't know what gang will show up and attack you.
Yeah. Hey, Air Spider. Yeah, the game also is like a little bit of retelling, but also has a little bit of a prequel in there. Especially, what you get missing from Cleo, like in the movie, you get in the video game.
Yeah. That video game was good. That was when Rockstar was at its best.
Yeah.
sadly, they just a shell of them for themselves.
Like almost every video game company is like, hey, you wanna like a bit of microtransaction with your AAA game?
Yeah, it's up.
Yeah, that's. I think that's a problem with a lot of the Warriors stuff. Is also the comic books. Like you're not getting them anymore for cover price, and nobody's reprinting them. Yeah, because it's how it is with a license. Once you use a license and nobody else takes it over. Yeah.
So the Warriors are on the run. And I like how they initially escaped the first game. And of course, like, we got to talk about the DJ and the music that she plays and her voice, because I feel like Lynn Thigpen did a great job without even showing her face, just being the voice for all the gangs to listen to.
Exactly. And this also makes so much sense because, of course, the music is always very in cahoots like with counterculture. And so to use like the radio as your means of legally have a communication of the whole city where gangs can give orders, and of course the riffs being like the dominant gang, hey big lion cat, and basically giving a message to the Warriors and for all the other gangs, and not saying, hey, hunt the Warriors, but no, this song is for the Warriors. It's nowhere to run.
I love her slagging the Baseball Furies for coming up short.
Yeah.
Their batting average sucked.
It was so perfectly because it was, as the audience, you're like in on it, and it's so great because when you listen to her broadcast and don't watch the movie, you think like, hey, regular broadcast or something. But the message is hidden in there that you, of course, know when you see the movies. And the movie it's just perfect. It's a perfect way of narration in the movie.
Yeah, it's great. Another thing I wanted to mention was the second in command who takes over for the Gramanskis. I felt like his presence, he just had that militant presence.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was like similar to the Black Panther movement of the late 60s, early 70s, where they had that military presence. Their gang is very, trained to handle situations. Yeah. And you could tell that they all have martial arts background.
Yeah. What I found so very interesting about that character is that, like, the look, the style, for me, it's like the typical second in command. This is like really the guy you want to have as a second in command. That short comments, like charismatic, but not as charismatic as the leader.
And more of a serious charismatic.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So they covered this very well because this is also very close to reality.
Yeah, like he definitely had a presence in this film for the small scenes that he had. Like, and then his gracefulness at the end, with the Warriors. As soon as he gave them pass, everybody's moved out the way so the Warriors could leave. It just it's astounding how they can make these villainous characters have this honorable mentality.
Let's just say I didn't want to wear like a rogue jacket on that beach empty.
So after they escaped, the first gang, and they got on the train thinking, oh, Coney Island, here we come. Like 2 stops later, there's a fire, and the gang started that fire.
Naturally,
so now
because
they got to go right back on foot. And I think this is where they encounter the orphans. Yeah,
they're like a gang that is very low on the class system of gangs. And, and this is also shows, I think, why Swan is the perfect war chief after the passing of Cleo. Yes, because he not says, okay, hey, I know we could totally fight ourselves through that. They are like, they're wimps and everything, but let's try this a different way. there's still a long way to Coney Island, and we don't wanna like lose our strength here.
Yeah.
So he tries to parley, and he really like sweet talks the orphans in a way that they let them pass with their colors, but still but nobody feeling like lesser.
Until Mercy gets involved.
Yeah, and I absolutely laugh already. You know, a woman came downstairs and Swan already knew, oh, here comes trouble.
Instantly.
It always is trouble.
That's interesting, and I think it was highlighted in the video game. You know, the rest of the Warriors, because you know they only went with like 9, but they had a lot more of the game.
Yeah. Just basically, of course, it's you know, when you compare it again with the Anabasis, with the Greek source material, is of course there's like more Greeks in Greece. So, but of course you can't take everybody to war. Yeah.
Yeah, but Mercy, as soon as Mercy showed up, she almost like messed up she pretty much messed up the whole thing.
Yeah. It's of course, and when women start talking, is hey, are you not man enough?
And then she wanted their vessels. I'm like, oh God.
Yes.
Like I could imagine if Ajax was leading that scene, it would have completely went off the rails. You know, as soon as she gets involved. I mean, first of all, he's gonna think of getting some, and then second of all, you know, as soon as she says she wants the vest and all that stuff, then he probably start losing his mind, and they start fighting right then and there.
Which is fun because James Raymer, who plays Ajax, gifted his jacket to his back then girlfriend after the movie.
What was that?
Yeah. It was a cold night. It was sure nibbly out there.
But yeah, like after that whole ordeal, Mercy ends up tagging along. You know, the orphans was like, nah, fuck this shit. But then, you know, they got scared from a car bomb, a car explosion, and that was the end of the orphans. But I like how it's, like you said earlier, it sets up the orphans as this gang that's so low that they're not even on the radar of other gangs. Yeah. But yet, the orphans has a image and to protect. You know, like they feel like, oh, we run these streets and we've been in the news. Like, look at this newspaper clipping. Yeah, we do damage. But yet they're not acknowledged by the other gangs. So it just shows you that not every gang is connected in terms of the network of gangs.
Yeah, you can truly see, you know, these are like very low income, very low class. They don't even have vests. Like they can't even afford badges or anything. Yeah. So they are like really just a gang, like out there, you know. Like they're like the poor people together. It's more of a rebel than a gang. But yeah, it's, you know, when you're on somebody's home turf and they have like the numbers. Numbers are a tricky thing.
So they get back on the train, and then after one stop, the train stops and stays there, and tension starts building up, and you hear these footsteps, and it's the number one gang in the whole city, the New York Police. And that sequence where they have to escape the police is probably the biggest fight scene outside of the punks. You know, because you know nothing is more worse than trying to avoid getting arrested. Because once you're arrested, you're in jail, and you're pretty much put down for the game.
And yeah, you know, on the one side, of course, we needed police. Police is very well needed to hold up order, but you can truly see that the police mentality is often very much alike or similar to a gang mentality. You know, in football matches, I've seen policemen, they just waited there for you to do something because they wanted to get in a fight.
they just want to throw blows.
Yeah, and it's so crazy, and yeah.
So, and this is where we lose Fox, because he gets into a tussle with one policeman. And that policeman ain't got no care in the world. Like, the train is coming, And dude was like, well, fuck, I'm done with this fight. Then he throw his ass in the track.
Somersaulting like.
I was like, damn, you cold, bro. You supposed to arrest these fools, not throw them in the track.
All the orphans hate in the comments.
Big boy cat going off.
Punching down, always punching down.
Yeah, so I was like, damn, man, they had to throw Fox on the train tracks, get run over by a train. That's cold, man. That's cold. And then after they split up, the Warriors get separated, but Ajax, Swan, and two others go up against the Baseball Furies. Now, the low-key music and play for that chase scene is epic. The Baseball Furies is probably the most popular gang in the movie in terms of, appeal,
recognizability,
recognizability, and of course, it's baseball. Back when baseball was still relevant, but yeah, I love the whole sequence with the Baseball Furies. Even though they proved Ajax right, they kind of went out like chumps.
Yeah, and I also think that is why the issue number 3 of the Warriors adaptation, when Dynamite took over the Devil Brothers comics, with the Baseball Fury on the cover, I think it's the most expensive one.
Yeah, because the image is just so iconic. When their introduction was so good in the film that you want to see more of the baseball. It's like these guys really play baseball, or they just like swinging bats and looking like old school baseball players.
Yeah.
And that's why the DJ just slagged them after the Warriors beat them.
But yeah, the chase was fantastic. I mean, I think this movie only has best parts. Like it's just so fluid. It's a poetry in motion.
And then after that, Ajax, they walk by a park bench with a lady sitting there, and you, in your mind, as an adult, you like, the fuck's that lady sitting there, like in
the night, in New York, in the park.
It's a setup.
Yeah, it's a setup, but you just don't know by whom.
Like, who sits out 2 a.m. on the bench park in New York City night? But of course, Ajax can't help himself. He wants to have a little fun. Yeah. I'm like, bro, you being hunted by the police. You being hunted by gangs. You got plenty of women back home. But you're like, if I'm going to hit every borough in New York, I want to at least get every chick that each borough has.
It's like, so, well, let's add rape to the to-do list.
And boy, he wish he never even laid eyes on her, because as soon as she handcuffed him to the bench and started blowing that whistle, it was a wrap. Yeah. And that's what Sonny Lonham came in. It gave him the stern look, like you ain't getting no upper hand on me. You handcuffed.
Yeah, it's this perfect runtime. It's so well edited. The pacing is on point. The storytelling is superior, and there's so many things they wanted to add in there, which sounds interesting, but I think they just found the perfect runtime. Like one of the original plans was that Swan gets like abducted by like a homosexual gang.
I read that. Yeah. They said, nah, let's not add that to the film. But it's funny, after Ajax get captured, the whole gang gets kind of seduced by women. You had Mercy and Swan inside the subway track.
Al.
What's up, Al? You had Mercy and Swan. Mercy trying to get Swan to give her some action in the subway track. They're like, damn, she has no shame at all.
Yeah.
And then the 2 or 3 other members get seduced by the Lizzies, and I'm like, the one member is like, bro, we gotta get back to Union Square. We gotta do the meetup. They're like, nah, we can get some action. I'm like, there's that Ajax thinking. And y'all let these women get in y'all minds and like, oh, we can offer you the best night ever. and they's like, oh, we gotta take this.
Yeah, and they knew because they were packed.
And it just really like if that girl never mentioned, oh, you're the Warriors. You was the one that shot Cyrus. They could have easily killed all three of them right then and there. But as soon as she mentioned that, that's when it alerted them and they was able to avoid death. Because the lizards had them dead to right.
Yeah.
Dead to right.
They sure like distributed most of the blood from the brain to the lower part of the body.
But yeah,
and as everybody know, there's like the one flaw we have as men. We have like fantastic brains and everything, but nobody can think when they have an erection.
Nope. And that whole sequence from Ajax to Swan and Mercy and to the rest of the Warriors getting seduced, and like, damn, this is the women's section where they getting the upper hand on the men. Like, it's a good thing it wasn't more lady gangs.
Yeah.
And then we get to Union Square, and that's where they meet the final gang, the Punks. And this is where we get probably the best fight scene in the whole movie.
Oh yeah, at the toilet, that was a really good one. But I also really love that, the setup for that. When you can see that the leader on the roller skates was following Swan.
And he knows it.
And he knows that, and then Mercy came to look, hey, this guy's following you, so thank you. Now they know that I know that they're following me.
And then it was like right on time, the rest of the Warriors showed up for that epic battle in the bathroom. And that sequence was just so well shot. Everything just falling apart. I was like, that's the cheapest looking bathroom ever, because you could just break everything in there. The Warriors was outnumbered, but they still kicked ass.
But they were true warriors. So, and it was like in a vicinity where the numbers of the punks didn't. They were not able to really make the numbers count. Yeah.
And in that small capacity, there wasn't really nothing they could do once they started getting overwhelmed. Lots of crashing and throwing through doors and broken mirrors. So yeah, one of my favorite fight scenes in the film. Like the baseball Furies kind of felt disappointing in terms of once they got to the fight, because I'm like, you guys got baseball and you getting out whooped by 4 guys. But this one, I felt
that's when you too much rely on your weapons, and there's nothing behind them.
But I love the fight in the bathroom because it felt evenly paced. The punks was getting some hits in as well. But after that, they finally get on the train to go to Coney Island to set up the big finale with Luther and his gang. And it's funny how the most iconic scene in The Warriors happens towards the end of the film.
Yeah.
And it's one that stays embedded in your brain forever.
And it was ad-libbed.
I mean, just the glass bottles and him saying, "Warriors, come out to play." And it's seared in your brain that iconic line, that it just became a pop culture iconic moment.
Yeah.
And like you said, they should have had more movie roles, because he really, like, in certain scenes, he stole the show with how unhinged he was. We didn't get enough of him in this film.
And also, it's, to have like to be an actor that also has so many iconic death scenes.
Oh yeah.
From being let go to having other stuff on the gas pedal.
Yeah, it wasn't in the script. He came up with
it was ad-libbed,
100%. And you gotta love an actor that can come up with something completely off the script, and it's so good that they like, man, we keeping this in there.
Yeah, there's always the best stuff, because when they keep it in, it means, wow, it's like...
and it sticks with you. Like Rutger Hauer and Blade Runner, with his ad-lib lines.
Yeah.
That shit sticks with you.
Because most of the time when something is ad-libbed, it's like it comes authentic from the situation. And this is something that is very tough to fabricate.
Yeah. And only like the actors who are willing to do it and really pull it off and deliver the lines so effectively that even the director's like, that was beautiful. Like, that is going to be the most iconic scene in the film. You know, that line right there. And the Golden State Warriors use it. Any like sports team that had the Warriors name used it. You know, so it definitely was one of the great lines in the film and highlight moments.
I mean, there's many fantastic lines in the movie. Also, of course, from Ajax, that with the baseball bat.
I'm gonna stick that baseball bat so far up your ass you turn to a popsicle.
That's also a gold one. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of great lines in the film, you know. But then we get like the meeting on the beach, and that's when the Grand Macy's show up. And one thing, a pet peeve of mine when it comes to these films, Luther shoots the gun. Swan moves out the way to throw the knife at his arm. But I'm like, the Warriors are standing right behind him. You mean to tell me they was able to just stand there and not feel the wrath of that bullet that he shot? Because I know that, you know, if you're standing behind somebody, 9 times out of 10, somebody might get hit.
Well, that's plot armor.
It's plot armor that
very strong plot armor.
It frustrates me because I'm like, ain't no way all of them guys are standing behind Swan.
Yeah.
He shoots the gun, but nobody gets hit.
but this is like one of these moments where I can accept it for the pathos, like in that moment, for the state of being okay. If we would turn the other stuff, there would be too much commotion around, and we really just wanted to have this Luther Swan scene. So the others are based, yeah.
But you know the mentality of when you hear a gunshot, the first instant is to hit the ground.
Yeah.
If they all hit the ground, it would have made it a lot more realistic. But
yeah, but I think it's like I think they did it actually not realistic, but they did it well. And I mean, of course, first of all, it's like to basically
kill Cyrus with one shot.
Yeah.
and that was a further distance shot.
Yeah.
That was a further distance shot.
And I can tell you why. Probably he was so shit drunk because all the bottles were probably not empty when I started driving.
He was batshit insane.
But Swan is better with the knife throwing.
And he's better at being a leader.
Yeah. That was a really nice also scene from the makeup artist, especially like the knife stuck in there. You could really feel that.
But yeah, nothing was worse though is when the Grand Macy's show up. They let the Warriors go, and then they surround Luther and his gang, and Luther starts crying out.
Yeah, that's not a moment where you wanted to wear a ropes jacket, because I don't think that anybody of them made it out. maybe one of the lower ranks just to tell the tale, but
and it was one of his people that actually gave him up.
Yeah, because you can already see it. You know, there was in the scene where they were at the kiosk. Yeah, and he was like not happy that Luther did this, and Luther basically really shut him down. So
yeah, because Luther was reassuring that, oh, they're after the Warriors. As long as the Warriors are the targets, they won't worry about us. But you know, there's always that concern of what if the Warriors get away, or what if somebody reveals the truth, because they saw, the person who saw him, Fox, was killed by the police. So that's one aspect that was thrown away. But still, there's also that concern of what if they tell the truth, and we're now in trouble, and we don't want to run afoul to the Grand Macy's.
Yes, especially since they are the biggest gang with probably the best militant know-how.
And they had a leader that set the meeting up. You know, so all the gangs, even if they didn't like each other, they knew who they were, and they knew not to mess with them. And they showed up for the meeting to listen to what he said.
Yeah.
So anybody that shoots that leader is going to get the wrath put on them.
Yeah, exactly. But I really like the ending, especially since he comes back again to the Greek source from the Anabasis, because the Greek soldiers, when they knew, when they went the Black Sea and they saw when they saw the sea, they knew they were saved. And so it was with the warrior. It was also like, hey, we're like Coney Island, the sea saved. That's also where I have like the Talata. That was also what Xenophon wrote, what everybody was shouting, the sea, when they knew they were saved. So I really like that this also made it into this movie.
You know what's funny? I've been to Coney Island so many times growing up as a kid. The way it looked in the film is exactly how it looked in real life. No matter how they cleaned it up for the day, I always looked at Coney Island, especially the amusement park, as a beat down amusement park. But as us kids, growing up in the hood, that was our amusement park. Like, yeah, you had Six Flags, you had Disney World and stuff, but Coney Island was special to us. And it meant something, to go there. I never rode the Wonder Wheel because I don't like heights. So I ain't getting on that. But it was always a marvel to see the Wonder Wheel come across that train.
Yeah, it must be, I think when you're like from New York, this movie must have even like a close connection to you.
Yeah, it does. Between the train rides and Coney Island being the theme, and just the whole escape narrative, like you said, when we talked about the Bronx trilogy and how that borrowed a lot from the Warriors and those stuff. So the Warriors was such an impactful film, with the gang culture and stuff. And it's funny how late 70s, early 80s gang culture shifted by the time the late 80s and 90s came, because now it was about the West Coast gangs, the Bloods and the Crips. You had Colors, Boys in the Hood and stuff like that. So now gangs became more associated with them than the variety of gangs that we had in the 70s and 80s. So it definitely did a huge shift by the late 80s in tone.
Yeah, not only that, but also like in terms of movies, The Warriors was done like at the end of an era, like the 70s.
Yeah. But like that late 70s, early 80s period still feel kind of similar. Yeah. Like I can watch Death Wish 2 and that movie definitely has that Warriors feel with the gangs in that film.
Hey,
G-Man.
It's also very interesting. There was a movie that I've seen before, The Warriors. I remember it was also when I was in school and it was on free TV somewhere at night on the weekend. Is the Wanderers that came out the same year. And it's very interesting how basically they both tackle the same topic, but I think that the Wanderers is way more lighthearted.
Little comedic stuff.
Yeah, more comedic. I mean, you still have the gang violence and everything. And I think that the Wanderers is also more about like the cultural gangs, the Italians, the Asians.
Which is interesting because one thing about the Warriors is that it highlighted gangs and their different characteristics and personality traits with how they look and presented. Next month is May, and we're gonna do Mafia May. That's right, we're gonna talk some mafia movies, some Italian gangsters, or even Irish gangs. Like the Departed, maybe. We can talk that, but
or like other gangs, like the gangs of New York. Even though the movie's a little bit too long.
Way too long. Either that one or Once Upon a Time in America. That one.
That movie way too long. Movies are way too long.
That movie was fucking. That was a whole day. I was like, shit. The movie ever going?
I watched it once in my life. I don't think I would want to rewatch it again because of the sheer length. Even though I love Sergio Leone, but Once Upon a Time in America, it's just way too long.
I love Once Upon a Time on the West as well.
Yeah.
Because it's another long ass movie. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, talking about Sergio Leone, I just got this baby in today. Like one of his Peplum movies, monumental movies in the US. Yeah, Peplum movies. So
That's interesting.
it's a classic, and it's for the first time, nicely remastered.
Nice. But yeah, next week we're gonna actually do 2 movies and compare them. We're gonna talk the original Scarface movie, and we're gonna talk the Al Pacino Scarface movie.
It's gonna be so tough to watch it because it's Scarface is a movie that I can see the greatness behind it, but Tony Montana is such an unlikable character, and of course it's bland. He does it so well, but it's so tough to see him.
When he gives that speech in the restaurant, like, I'm the bad guy, it's the single most reason why he played that part so well, because he is a true scumbag.
Yeah, the best part, there was the best part about Scarface, that it gave us Razor Ramon.
If this one has ever seen this movie ever.
Oh yeah, Boondock Saints. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Boondock Saints, man. That's a movie I ain't watched in a while, but I remember watching that a lot. William Dafoe was over the top in that film.
Yeah, it's so fantastic. Let's just say the director's probably not the most sympathetic person on this planet.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, I'm gonna have to watch Boondock Saints. I used to watch that a lot when it was on.
Oh yeah.
Plus, that's that and Blade 2 is the only reason I like Norman Reedus in those films. Once Walking Dead hit, I'm like, man, I don't like him no more.
And shepherds we shall be, for thee, my lord, for thee. I still have the old NECA figures of the brothers.
Nice. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting talking about the original Scarface, because I haven't watched that movie in a while either, but I remember enjoying it for what it was. Like, and it's that golden age Hollywood, black and white classic. But yeah, Tony Al Pacino really made him out to be fucking scumbag.
And I don't know if it's out in the US or if this was like a first year, but the 4K edition of Bloodsport is so awesome. And it's really nice bound the media book. And the 4K is so fantastic. So I really hope that you're also getting the 4K. Oh yeah.
Classic.
I
can go back and watch that fight a million times, because it's top.
You also what I got. The new Street Fighter trilogy set from Arrow.
So now we can finally talk the sequels.
Yes.
Oh, man.
And of course, for all the barbarians out there and Chess Franco fans.
Nice.
Der Goldene Tempel der Amazonen. Don't know what the English title is, but it's a Chess Franco movie, and Chess Franco.
The cover alone sells me on it. I'm like, but then again, sometimes those covers can be deceiving.
It's a Chess Franco movie. You're getting a lot of sleaze in it, and.
But you know what? That was the beauty of those movies back then. Like the Warriors and stuff. Like,
yeah,
they had a lot of sleaze in it, but that was the time period. The 70s and 80s had movies where in today's landmark, they are not gonna say this movie did not age well, but it shouldn't age well. That it was part of a time and era where it was made, and it was a interesting topic to discuss, even if it was uneasy.
Exactly. And this is also the thing about it. But what I really hate today is because back in the day, when they sometimes say, "Oh, like that, like what the things that the person said in the movie." Yeah, that was the villain.
It's supposed to be villainous.
Exactly, like, oh, that person said something racist. Yeah, that person was the villain. They won't be root against in this movie. And in modern movies, oh, the villain can't say anything villainous. Like, how is it the villain then? Like Ajax would get crucified if he was in today's movie saying the word. And it's the other thing. I think that it's so important to have this stuff in there, so you don't forget that the Warriors actually are not very good people.
No. And Ajax is like number one with a bullet.
Yeah.
Like
You don't want to have,
he was the one that was so irrational out of them, the group that, like, if he was the leader, then they all be fucking just like him, carbon copy.
and even Swan, you probably don't want to have something like him as a neighbor. Doesn't matter how level-headed he is, but
he still looks sinister enough to be like, yeah, I don't trust that motherfucker. And one scene we didn't talk about, and there's something to be said about when they were on the train and that couple, the two couples came on.
Oh yeah, that was like this was like having this I forgot the English word. Like having this comparison between like the youth that is not in gang, that is like has a higher income parents, and then of course the gangs, and you can see all these comparisons, how this world collide, and basically the gangs look at them where like they're not part of our struggle, like, and they look at them and like, we're in the wrong way.
They look at how she looks all dirty and filthy, and they almost like feel bad, but at the same time they like, man, we need to get the hell out of this train.
Oh, Gary, I'm pretty sure that's on Amazon. Like, you find a lot of the 70s, 80s movies from France, Spain, Italy on YouTube, because also this like the thing is, you never really know, do they have the rights to do this? Because sometimes you just don't know who has the rights of these movies anymore. The other thing is with the first Street Fighter. The first Street Fighter is public domain because there was some weird rights thing. So basically, nobody has the right officially to the first movie.
But yet they have the rights to the sequels and the sister Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's why the first movie you can show basically anywhere. Like also when we talked, this the first movie. And it was also like in the Darkness video game.
Oh yeah, that's
like,
right.
The full movie was in there because it's public domain. They were just able to put it there.
They just threw it in there.
Of course, the other thing is because this is like either 2K remastered. Is naturally then okay. It's a 2K remaster, so basically they don't have the rights to the movie, but they have the right to the remaster they did. At least that's how I see it. That's the selling point.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. I did not know about that. The first Street Fighter being public domain. I think you mentioned it. Yeah. Why it was part of the video game, but it was kind of weird.
But yeah, it's like especially some of the old movies, even though they uploaded illegally, but nobody complains because nobody knows who has the rights. Like somebody that I know. Haven't heard about it, but if it's on Netflix, it's never. It's always like a red flag when something is on Netflix.
I don't even have a Netflix account anymore.
Because I know somebody who's writing like the booklets for these, and he got from 2 different companies that they wanted to do the same movie, and he got the order to write booklets, and he said, "Hey, whom of you really got the rights to?" Because they got the rights sold to from 2 different other companies.
It's funny, going back to that when we talked the Flying Guillotine and how the Shaw Brothers didn't have the rights to that film, because there was so many Flying Guillotine movies that they didn't even produce.
Yeah.
I remember the first one I watched was a sequel. It was a Master of the Flying Guillotine. That was a sequel to One Armed Man.
Exactly. It's so confusing.
I was like, wait a minute, this ain't the sequel to the Shaw Brothers movie.
Yeah. I think one of the craziest job must be to be a lawyer who deals with the movie rights of some obscure movies where the research part is the toughest.
Yes. I can't imagine going through that, the whole legalities of movie rights and who owns what and stuff like that. Who gets to play it? It's crazy. It's almost how I feel about whenever I post a music song and Instagram said, nope, take that shit down. Oh, fuck.
Or when Instagram deletes your reel that they put up with music that they.
I don't understand that. It seems to happen to a lot to you. Like wait a minute, this music, but it's taken down. Why?
Yeah, it's like you gave me this music.
That's why I'm worried about putting music in my post, because I want to put the music in my post, but if Instagram takes it down, I'm like, well, why the fuck you have it as an option?
Yeah, but that's also something where I'm like, I sometimes don't know how the obscure metal that I listen to even makes it to their list, but also there very often, as long as a label is known as it's not owned by Warner or by any Sony big labels, then there's usually not a problem.
Yeah.
But it's. I think sometimes the crazy thing is when you put on a song and the song sounds similar than something that is copyrighted, and the AI just has no idea. Yeah, it's. I think I know how people run into copyright issues is just when companies want to set an example, or when they have people hired to just do that. And even though the person, because of fair use and everything, remixing, etc., may get may have the right or can prove that they had the right to do it, who really want to go to court against the big corporation and paying all the lawyer money, put it up?
Well, I hope they don't come after me for using this awesome background music, because most of the instrumentals I use on here is like underground hip hop samples and stuff. So it's not made by the major corporations. But as soon as the right owners come out, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, usually the smaller corporations are there way more chill.
And whenever I put music in my videos, I always list the songs that I use.
Yeah.
So I'm like, at least I'm giving credit to the
exactly.
The
it's like the same thing when I'm putting up reels on Instagram, you know, if there's like some obscure dungeon synth, etc., where I'm just playing it and then making a video and recording it. Like the bands are always happy. Like there's like, hey, thanks for the exposure.
That's why I really don't understand. Like I've gotten tagged from artists and stuff like that. Whenever I post their music, they like, hey man, I appreciate that.
Exactly.
Great stuff. But then it's the big wigs, the corporations that be like, no, you gotta take that down.
Yeah, the example are like the pussies from Metallica.
But I just don't understand that, because it shows you that while the artists like love the support that you're giving them, the record labels is like, no, we can't let you post this. And I'm like, I'm not making money off this fucking post.
Yeah, the YouTube claims are also very crazy. That's like, that was also when I was teaching social media marketing, etc. And I was always telling all of my students that, you know, you can never take it for granted. Like YouTube gives it, and the next day they can just take it away. Because if they want to, they will find a violation for the term somehow.
It's like what Burt family posted about YouTube demonetizing his channel because of the shorts that he's posting with movie clips. And I'm like, bro, everybody is posting movie clips on YouTube. Yeah. But why are you going after him? Because, you know, he's doing shorts and his shit's 30 seconds.
And there's other make sense. Yeah. But there's other crazy things sometimes that happen is with advertisement rules from Facebook, etc., is that somehow I know is when they mix up laws and they tried to, like a former student of mine came to me and say, hey, Facebook said I can't post this ad. And I read it, it's like, I don't know why. And then I checked it out, it violates the US law, but you're in Austria, like this Austrian law should be correct. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it is crazy. I get the claims, but As long as my videos aren't struck down, then it's fair game. As long like if they put a claim on my video saying the person claimed this and they're allowing you to use it, I'm like, hey, at least you getting paid off.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. If I'm allowed to use it and they claim the money, I don't care. Because I'm not looking to get paid. I'm not a monetized channel. Even if I get to the monetization, I don't think I would want to do that because, again, I like my type of freedom where I don't have to follow strict rules.
Yeah.
And
I
don't.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I've seen it with a lot of channels, like even like in the comic book community, that's with some people, the moment they hit their monetization, that like their whole demeanor changed, and they were like, and it just became boring.
I don't want to throw no names out there, but
yeah,
it definitely does get boring. Like you take the fun out of it, and now it's becoming a job.
Exactly,
and because it's a job, you're being more reserved. You say not be free. And even Burt said it. I appreciate him for what he said. He said he changed his channel because he wanted to be more family oriented, so he don't drop no F words and stuff. He be clean. Fine, I can appreciate that. But I like colorfulness.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the same. I wouldn't have. I mean, of course, I can have fun once in a while. It's the same. when, for example, when I'm on Matt's channel. And we have a live stream there, of course. Since I love and respect, that I'm not using any swear words. Sometimes it's really tough.
Yeah, Matt, boy, you like 7. Exactly.
Yeah. So sometimes it's
tough because he came on my show one time, and I was like, oh shit, I'm cursing and stuff. I was like, man, is it okay? And like,
I remember when he comes on my channel, like back in the day, it's like, okay, it's my channel, like I'm cursing the fuck I want to. Naturally.
I because Matt is such a great person, sometimes I still want to be respectful to him, because he's just such a stand-up guy. But yeah, I do understand that point. Like when you go on his channel, like, try and contain yourself, Sean. Like, don't say F word.
And I have to say, like, also with Matt, he's really like a live person. Like, he's even liking some of my posts where I'm wearing like t-shirts, with black metal with 666 and the Petrus cross, like everything. So.
Oh, that was an Arnold sandwich. Nice. But yeah, it's sometimes, even when you read the rules, they still try and throw these little tricks in there that confuses you.
Yeah, because technically, like from the terms and conditions on YouTube, they can delete any channel because they will find something where they say, okay, this goes against the terms and conditions. It's like the same recently. Even though I think it was sort of legitimate because the guy is a jackass and really was slandering other people. It's like bodybuilding and bullshit. The channel that got deleted from YouTube even was like a big bodybuilding channel. But I think he fucked a little bit too much with Derek from More Blades, More Dates. I don't know if anybody knows these channels, but bodybuilding YouTube is big drama.
If there's one thing about YouTube, you're guaranteed drama and beef.
Actually, I have to say, I think that the comic book community is the least drama. I mean, at least here, like on Twitter, of course, with all this political bullshit from both sides.
Twitter is beef central.
Yeah, my Twitter is like,
but
comic book Instagram is so civilized.
I feel like Instagram is a bit more civilized because it has like certain parts of the community that are strictly about doing tags and community challenges, and then you have the others that like fall in line with how they want to do like speculation and stuff like that. Thanks, man. Yeah, we try and be ourselves all the time.
Thanks. Yeah, it's so that it wouldn't be fun being not yourself. Sometimes it's like, of course, basically I just make my whole. Okay, now I can use a lot of my historic knowledge for marketing in modern sense, because tactics that worked in the antique still work nowadays. You just have to rephrase it. But otherwise, I mostly did my whole university thing, my master degree, just for fun. Because if you're not in a university and not kissing the ass of the professors, you will never get like a job in science. And and I was never like that. I was
Same.
I was like being here.
Same.
I remember when we were like in excursion like in Sicily, and there was like this cave which is like the ear of Dionysos.
No, you won't get that from us, buddy.
Nah, it's like I say it's like it's speculative cover price. And if you buy a comic that's more expensive because you're speculating and lose money, it's like, well, fuck you for speculating with comics.
that is your money. That's your money you lost.
Exactly.
So all that stuff really don't bother me at all.
And it's like it's also not the channel. Those are not the channels that I'm watching.
No. I'd rather watch a random Biggie Shack live stream because I know he's gonna entertain.
Exactly.
Because he just threw a live stream randomly. I'm like, damn, Biggie live again?
Yeah. I mean, I heard that Cem Mintz is a very cool person in person, because he's not living that far from Matt. But it's just not my sort of content. And
he just gives negative vibes sometimes.
Yeah, and also with Comic Tom I also heard like he should be a nice person, but
Comic Tom is a nice guy, like just talking with him and stuff. He's cool to talk with and stuff like that. It's just that the practices of his, mystery mailbox and stuff like that, I'm not really into all that stuff. And
the other stuff is there's two sorts of content that I don't trust. The first content is people that bash everything, and the second is content from people that love everything.
You got to have that in between.
Exactly.
You got to be 100% honest with yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Too many people lie through their teeth to try and say, "Oh, I love this, I love that." I'm like, bro, come on.
Yeah, it's there's some stuff where you can objectively say it's bad.
And then you got the people that just hate. Like, bro, join the player haters club or something like that.
Yeah. I love channels that criticize stuff, because sometimes it's very important to have like a constructive criticism out there.
Yeah.
But then there's like
have to be balanced.
Yeah, I mean, I give a fuck about Star Wars, but there's channels out there. Kathleen Kennedy is 1 week from being fired since 5 years or something. And videos still top up, but this time she's really gonna be fired. No, she's probably has so much shit on the Hollywood elites from being their secretary over the years, and she has so many secrets. She's pretty much unfireable.
Look how long it took for Ike Kudama to be let go, and the shit that he did, the stuff that he did over the years at Marvel. I'm like, bro, this guy got so much shit on him. Like, how the hell he stood there?
Because it's in German. We have this saying that eine Krähe hackt der anderen kein Auge aus, which means one crow doesn't hack out another crow's eye. It's the same thing like in once you're part of a community, once you're part like of an industry, it's like they don't fight each other, and you really have to fuck up majorly, and then also very late. I mean, all the shit that Weinstein did, and that shit was out in the open. One of my most favorite TV series of all time is 30 Rock, and there were jokes in there that one of the characters, Jenna, said it's like, very good, can you do it? It's like, well, I had a casting with Harvey Weinstein. Like, of course I can do it like this.
Yeah, she was established.
Yeah, she was established, but also she was like, sometimes the producer credit is for bringing coffee. I'm not saying that she was just bringing coffee, but she knows a lot of secrets of very important people. Because otherwise you couldn't fail upwards so much.
Yeah, film school, man.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna end it right here. We had a great little after the movie discussion. But again, you gotta watch the talk for the movie, but stick around for the after discussion because it's always entertaining.
Because the after talk stuff is the stuff that could get your channel banned anytime.
I don't care, man. But we have too much fun when we talk all the after stuff.
Yeah, chances is that maybe my dialect is so bad that the AI can't really decipher.
That's probably a good thing. Yeah. But anyway, we'll be back next week to talk the Scarface films. And I gotta give a plug. Go on right now. She's live. Retro Nerd Girl. If you're not subscribed to her, definitely subscribe and check out her channel.
The Queen of Retro Cinema.
Retro Cinema, awesome movies. She's right now talking about cartoons of the past. So I'm about to jump over there, but definitely subscribe to Retro Nerd Girl.
And any comic book haul this weekend?
It'll be next weekend. I think it's next week. But yeah, I know Matt got my package. I finally sent him those books. So he said he got something to send to me. Yeah, so
and also one more thing. Watch that Hong Kong movie Future Force because there's an acting that it looks exactly like Chef.
I looked that movie up. I'm gonna have to watch it. You had me dying when you said that.
It was so I have to show it was so uncanny. Watching this movie is really hey, it's. I also showed it to Chef. He laughed. But everybody knows Chef. This actor looks 1-to-1 like Chef, and he's
just with a little more hair.
So Chef, this is your future.
Oh, you had me rolling when you sent them photos, man.
I know it was so uncanny.
I'm gonna check that out, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, I hope you have a great weekend. I know I'm looking to have a good weekend, and I hope all of you people who joined us in the chat, Air Spidey, Big Lion Cat, who else we had? G-Man, Gary B, Kenneth Bird, Two Gun Pedro, Dusty Brick Brown, all of you guys, thanks for joining us on this discussion with the Warriors. And I hope y'all have a great weekend, y'all. It's your boy Sean.
Savage One.
Signing out, y'all. Peace out.